Fellow Toastmasters and guests, welcome to the 2012 District 48 Speech Evaluation Contest. We have 6 contestants that have earned the privilege of competing to become the top evaluator in District 48 for this year. I would like to introduce our test speaker. Our test speaker this evening is Rick Gianvito. The title of his speech is Sweet, Comforting, and Toxic. Sweet, Comforting, and Toxic, Rick Gianvito.
Thank you. Good evening. Wow, this is pretty intimidating to be up here in front of this crowd of distinguished Toastmasters. One of the nice things about talking to Toastmasters, though, is that I know you are all committed to self-improvement. You wouldn't be involved in Toastmasters if you weren't interested in improving your speaking ability, for example. Well, I'm going to issue you a challenge tonight. And if you accept this challenge, you'll be improving something even more important than your speaking ability. You'll be improving your health. So we are facing an epidemic right now in our country. We have been for a long time, but it's still getting worse. The illnesses are mounting up. We have record amounts of diabetes reports, cancers, other illnesses related to a substance that most people think of as innocent and comfortable and fun and sweet. Does anybody have any ideas what substance I'm talking about? Sugar, exactly. So we all know that too much sugar is bad for us. But most people don't really have any idea how much sugar is too much sugar. The American Heart Association and several other health organizations have actually done studies. And what they've determined is that the amount of sugar that is safe for the average adult male is 36 grams of sugar a day or less. For an adult female, it's 20 grams or less. And for a child, 12 grams of sugar or less. So to put that into perspective a little bit, a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoonful of sugar has about 4 grams. So we're talking about, for a child, they shouldn't have more than 4 teaspoons of sugar a day. Unfortunately, most of our foods have quite a bit, and beverages as well. So why is it that we should be avoiding sugar? Well, let's talk about how much is safe or how much is in some of the things that people are consuming. Let's say, for example, are you aware that a 8-ounce glass of skim milk contains 12 grams of sugar? Skim milk. So this is if your child has a glass of skim milk at breakfast, a small glass, 8-ounce glass, that's all the sugar they should consume for the day. Even worse, a 12-ounce can of soda has 39 grams of sugar. That's more than an adult male should consume in an entire day. 39 grams of sugar. So that's 10 teaspoons full of sugar. And we're talking about the 12-ounce can here. We're not talking about, you know, the super big gulp 64-ounce mega monstrosity kind of thing. It's not even the 20-ounce bottle that seems reasonable. It's a 12-ounce can. So if people were aware that there was that much sugar in these things, they might be a little more apt to cut back. And what I'm asking you to do tonight is to cut back on your sugar consumption for a couple of weeks at least. So that's the challenge that I'm issuing. I would like to see everyone in this room for 2 weeks start to monitor their sugar intake and see how much healthier they feel. Now, most people haven't gone more than 3 or 4 days without over-consuming sugar. Even when they cut back on sugar, they don't realize that they're still over-consuming. So most people don't realize how good they can feel. So it's not just the matter of avoiding these horrible diseases. There are cancers and heart disease and type 2 diabetes and other. As a matter of fact, recently researchers have determined that Alzheimer's is traced back to too much sugar intake. And as a matter of fact, they are now referring to in the scientific community Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes. So we find out more and more all the time about the detrimental effects of this toxic substance. Yet most people think that it's safer. They don't want to use Sweet and Low or something like that because it's a chemical. You know, it's not natural. Well, strychnine is natural. I wouldn't put too much stock in whether something is natural. It's more about whether it's healthy. And these other substances are much healthier than sugar is. So the first question is, how would you go about reducing your sugar intake? And the easiest way is to completely eliminate it from your beverages. There's absolutely no reason to be drinking sugar. If you like coffee or tea, you can use a sugar substitute. If you like soda, you can drink a diet soda. There are also lots of other diet drinks that are sugar-free, flavored waters, or just plain water. But step one is to completely reduce the amount of sugar you intake through beverages. The next step is to carefully look at the packaging of the food that you consume. The manufacturers are required to put detailed information on there about the nutritional effects. Now, most people just don't realize how many grams of sugar are too many, and so they don't think to monitor that closely. But once you know what the limits are for you, then it's easy to do. So that's the how. Then comes the why, is not only can you prevent all of these diseases, but it just makes you feel better. I've been virtually sugar-free for several years now, and I can't tell you the last time that I've had a headache or a cold or something like that, and I just can't, people don't realize that even common things like that, you don't have to have that. You can feel great all the time. So if you will accept this challenge, then you'll be taking a step towards making yourself healthier. If you don't like it after a couple of weeks, you can cut it out. You can go back to consuming as much sugar as you like. But you may just find out, and we won't even talk about the dinner tonight and some of the things that are on the table, but you may find out that it's actually worth it for you and that it's so much easier and better for quality of life. And hopefully you'll determine that the next toast you make will be with a sugar-free beverage, and that can be a toast to better health. Thank you.
Contestant number 1, Linda Valentine. Linda Valentine, contestant number 1.
As I waited in the Route 19 parking lot on the way here tonight, I said to myself, "Self, this had better be one good speech." And congratulations, Rick. It was well worth the wait. Your speech was well written. It was well delivered. And it conveyed your real concern for humanity and your concern for the topic. You not only told us the dangers of that sweet, comforting, toxic substance, but you told us how to remedy it, which is very helpful to know. As you remove the sugar from your system, you may not want it again. So giving us baby steps to begin getting healthy again, and giving the examples of your own life and how it's helped you was very educational. If I were going to offer you a few suggestions, though, I would start with your opening. You came up here and you said, "Good evening to everyone." Now, that's great because you acknowledge the audience. But you've really got a very powerful message there. And you might have started with a more powerful opening by perhaps issuing your challenge first. I've got a challenge for you Toastmasters tonight. Are you up for it? Secondly, and I can see why with the microphone situation here, but you seem to be hanging on to dear life to the lectern. You had a great camaraderie with the audience. You gave several humorous quips. If you were able to reach out to them a little more, give an example here, then move on to here, it would have made it more conversational and less of a presentation type. But what we do when we speak is we speak to cause action. And you certainly caused action in me, particularly because today was the start of my physical. And your comments really hit home. So I congratulate you on that. You did accomplish your purpose. And with just a few little finesses of hitting that message home at the beginning and perhaps using your staging more, you can deliver it to even more people and make it hit home as much as it hit me.
Contestant number 2, Bernadette Azai. Bernadette Azai, contestant number 2.
Madam Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. Toastmaster, are you Rick? Toastmaster? Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. Because I kept thinking, he must be a doctor, so he doesn't have time to be a Toastmasters. But I hope he is a Toastmasters because he did a brilliant job. When you got up here and you started talking and people said, oh, it's sugar, sugar is the enemy. And then I had this thought in my head, or this song, you know, the one that says, sugar, sugar. And I thought, I gotta pay attention because you're talking about some really important stuff here. I felt guilty because as soon as we checked into the hotel, we went to Four Monkeys. Have you guys seen that candy shop? Well, there are 27 different flavors of licorice, right? And so I'm taking the chocolate, the cinnamon, and all this stuff, and I'm having flashbacks that that's not necessarily a good thing. And I don't think it's a good thing that I ate the whole bag that cost $2.50. So you kept saying all these things like how and why sugar is bad for you and all these things, and I'm thinking, okay, so maybe later, maybe tomorrow, I'll cut back on my sugar. And then I thought about the young man who walked around the room tonight asking for the nerds. So I think I have to go back and tell him, young man, the nerds has 32 grams of sugar, so you may want to watch it, because if you want to grow big and tall, you may want to cut back on the sugar. I was just astounded by all of the statistics, and I thought, man, sugar is so bad, but it's just like a wonderful friend. It's a seductor, right? It's sweet, it's intoxicating, it's all these lovely things, but it's not lovely at all. And I was wondering if you could maybe rename your speech to SIC, to S-I-C, and then say those acronyms for sweet is not good for you, and intoxicating is icky, or something like that, just to really give us a punch, to let us understand that sugar is really sick for you. Do any of you watch Oprah Winfrey by chance? Okay, you men don't have to volunteer that. Just say, just. Oprah, in her show, one day she thanked her audience. She said, you all come dressed so nicely, and I appreciate that. And I thought, why would she thank her audience for dressing nicely? And then I understood, when you dress nicely, you pay respect to your audience. And I was wondering if next time when you're up here, would you just roll your sleeves down? It's just a conservative thing, I know. Why would I be picking on somebody on their sleeves? But really, you're just showing respect to others. But I know you're showing your gams, so that's awesome. But I just want to say also, On your punchline, too, would you tell people about the Alzheimer's, how it ties in? Because you got a big wow, and that is what we appreciate. Wow. Thanks, Rick.
Contestant number 3, Michelle Fiara. Michelle Fiara, contestant number 3.
Four teaspoons, Rick. Where were you when my son was little? He's 10 now, and I can relate to your speech. Toastmasters, friends, my son was diagnosed with ADHD. A little bit too late for mom. Because like any loving mother, I did the good thing, and I bought him corn pops, and I bought him Fruit Loops, and I gave him lots of vitamin D milk, filled it all up in that bowl. And then for lunch, we had peanut butter and jelly with gummy bears and lots of potato chips, and all of those things are a little bit more than 4 teaspoons. Thank you so much for sharing all the facts that you shared with us today. When you were giving us those facts, you made sure to pause in between so we could absorb and we could reflect on how bad we really are. And then, for those of us that think we're not eating so much sugar because we went the natural way, you proved us wrong. When you speak, you were very passionate. Health is obviously something that's very important to you. And I want it to be very important for all of us, as it is to me. Bring us in. Make us passionate about it. I challenge you. You got to the point where you brought back your challenge. At the beginning, you challenged us. About the middle of your speech, you told us, so now I leave you with this to do. Make sure that you think about the sugar intake, and I challenge you to minimize the sugar that you have. And I thought, oh no, I want to know how. And you got to the how, and you said, this is what you need to do. Don't have ginormous Cokes. And then you told me how I was going to feel. I'm going to have headaches. Well, I didn't even know how I felt because I saw my son. Believe me, he was like a Tasmanian devil. But it was so great that we all knew. So I would love for you to make us feel that passion that you have and continue with bringing your message to all of us, because it was very important and it was very appropriate, and we all appreciate what you had to say to us. And I toast to your challenge, and I accept. Madam Contest Master.
Contestant number 4, Kate Chamberlain. Kate Chamberlain, contestant number 4.
Thank you. Topic, delivery, audience engagement. These 3 elements affect the quality of any speech. Madam Contest Chair, Toastmasters, guests, and especially Rick. You picked a topic that was compelling and interesting to all of us. Did you notice that he set the stage by the title that he provided? He works his way through the introduction, ending with a challenge. Then he built his case step by step with facts. Then he took us to what we could go through and how we could do it. And he ended with a challenge yet again. Very complete, very easy to follow. Delivery. Rick, you have 2 things that you can build on. I want you to take with you. You're very warm. He's very warm, and you want to listen to him, and he's friendly, and he's open. And the other thing is your body language was very comfortable. Again, it wasn't rigid, it was fluid, and as you turned and talked, you had really good eye contact with the areas that you spoke to. Now, audience engagement, what exactly is audience engagement? Well, maybe it's more what we see. He had us. And how did we know that he had us? because when he said something, we all said, wow. He made it important to us. And you know why it was so well done? What I really felt was so good is that we have been blah, blah, blah'd with health advice for a long time, haven't we? And yet we were listening to him because he picked things that were important, things that we could relate to. So he constructed that very, very well. I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions. The first, I know it's our maiden voyage, but you didn't need to be anchored here. So how do you get past that? One of the things you do is, even if you don't get a chance to see the stage, pick a couple of spots. And here's what you do, is you'll come over here, and even though you're speaking to this side of the room, you don't want to be centered here. Make sure that you get eye contact. And at some point when those nerves are like building up, instead of being rooted, walk back over, keep an eye on this side, and then as you come over here, look there. That movement will help give some of your speech. The second is that you have this warm, wonderful voice, but you're going to need a little bit more contrast. You're going to need to learn to speed up. You need to help us understand what's really important, really, really important. And then you can go back to that warm and welcoming voice that you already have. So just a little bit more contrast. You can do it by speeding up or slowing down or pausing really long or saying words really slow. So and the last one, though, is you're going to need to rework your speech because I think you're going to need a stronger ending. Don't tell people they can go after 2 weeks. Say, take this challenge. You're going to feel so good. I know you're never going to go back. So make it important to us. You just have so many wonderful things that you build on, and you've got a great start. I really look forward to hearing another speech from you. Thank you. Thank you.
Contestant number 5, Jim Sims. Jim Sims, contestant number 5.
Where's Rick? Rick, fabulous speech, well thought out, challenged us in a very serious way. And in fact, I've been in a number of evaluation contests, and there's really only one thing that I can suggest to you. The only thing that your speech was missing was an introduction by New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg with the caveat, never, ever drink sodas in cups that are larger than 16 ounces. Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, judges, welcome to a fabulous speech. I would suggest at the very outset that maybe the cookie approach with respect to talking about the possibility of being intimidated, being up here. I can assure you that the 5 young ladies who are in this contest with me, as well as myself, and surely you, none of us are nervous at this time. And what better venue to be nervous or to perform than in a group of Toastmasters. So I would eschew that. I wouldn't talk about the possibility of your being nervous or being intimidated. Your speech was excellent. You talked about something that was very serious. And what I noticed is you involved the audience right from the outset. And when you did that, you came forward. That in itself is an advanced technique, because what it's saying to all of us is I have something serious to share with you. I thought that you handled the microphone very, very well. It's sometimes something where people gesture and the microphone goes over there. You didn't do that. You used the microphone very, very well. I thought that you could have involved the audience a little bit more, and it might be because you were afraid of going beyond the life preservers, because we do have a feedback issue, but maybe to involve the right side of the room as well as the left side of the room. You also had a tendency to say so a few times, and you kind of leaned on the lectern for support. I really liked your message. I thought it was very, very important. Right from the outset of your speech, and then later on, you challenged us, go sugar-free for 2 weeks. What I would have liked to have heard a little bit more is about how you entered on that journey, because you said that you were sugar-free for a number of years. I think that's pretty important because it's showing almost leadership by saying, you think you can't get rid of the sugar for 2 weeks? I've been rid of sugar for X number of years. The one thing that I thought could have been perhaps a little bit more powerful is that challenge to us. Why it's so important to fight the issue of sugar, to fight the issue of obesity. I know in America there are over 2 million morbidly obese Americans, people who weigh 500 pounds or more. And I'm sure that some of that began when they went over the 36 grams of sugar and they began to get involved in a deeper and deeper way. So it's something that's very important. You shared it with us very well. You gave us something to think about, and you owned this space, and you delivered a powerful speech. Thank you.
Contestant number 6, Kathy Naby. Kathy Naby, contestant number 6.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and Rick. Thank you very much for giving this speech. I have to commend you because you're the first speaker to give a formal speech to this newly minted District 48. So you should applaud yourself for that. Not only that, but you subjected yourself to 6 evaluations in the process. Now, your subject, sugar, was very appropriate for you to deliver because you look the part. You look like somebody who doesn't eat sugar, who takes care of his health and is very conscious about his health. And when you came out, you had that commanding presence to talk about health. You told us you were going to talk about something, and you picked a title for your speech that gave us a hint about what you were going to talk about. Now, sugar is very bad, and we hear a lot about that, and there are a lot of statistics about that. What I think you could have done in your opening was share some of those things with us. Maybe even instead of just asking us what we thought the title meant, tell us something like, children consume 10 times the recommended daily dose of this substance. Then give us a second one, then give us a third one. Then ask us, what do we think that is? And at that point, we'll know that it's not only is it bad for you, but it's sugar. When you were talking about sugar, there were times where your gestures were good, where they were big. When you were talking about the small can of Coke and how much sugar's in there, not a big gulp, and then you went like this. That was about the only time that you used a really big gesture. Many times you came over to the lectern and you held onto the lectern. And every time you did that, the volume of your speech went down a little bit. So I encourage you to stay out here in the middle and use the space. Much better than I'm doing, but use the space. And as you're using this space, you can use your gestures. Now, I know you're hampered a little bit by holding the mic, so if you could be mic'd up like I am and be able to use your gestures, you could really bring it out. Now, when you were talking about the amount of sugar, and you told us so many grams equals a teaspoon of sugar, something that would have really hit home is if you had that 12-ounce can, and then you had a cup with the raw sugar side by side. I mean, that would have been a startling visual for us to really take home. Now, this was a persuasive speech. So you started out by telling us the bad things about sugar, what it can cause, and the benefits of not using sugar, like no headaches anymore, no illnesses, all of these things. So it was a very good persuasive speech, and then you had a call to action or a challenge. And then you gave us some tools, using sugar substitutes, things like that. And then your closing was excellent, where you said, the next time you toast, let it be a toast to your health. I thought that was a fantastic closing. So your speech overall was an excellent topic, excellent for this audience, excellent for any audience. You commanded the audience with your presence, and you told us very clearly exactly what it was that you were talking about. So you did a great job there. And I think that with a few of these little tips about how to present the data, you can really convince us to give up the sugar. Madam Contest Master.
Toastmasters and guests, are you eagerly waiting for the contest? Here we go with his results. In third place, Jim Sims. In second place, Kathy Naby. Now, fellow Toastmasters and guests, let's stand and cheer for our 2012 Speech Evaluation Contest Champion, Kate Chamberlain.